beginning to tell people what I think is the best way to fix something. I'll help them out and give them tips. That's a really cool thing about this. When it first came out in 2010, American Restoration was a huge hit with TV viewers. People were so interested in Rick Dale and his team's careful restoration of old things that one show drew an impressive 6.5 million viewers. A whole new arrangement started the 7th season. It's too bad that fewer people watched the show, and it was canceled after only one season in its new style. What went wrong behind the scenes that made such a popular show fail? We'll talk about the terrible accident that put American Restoration on its knees in this film. Let's find out. The rise of the American Restoration. Rick Dale did not mean for his rise to fame to happen. It found him in a way. It's almost like magic when timing and desire come together in life. You see, Rick was a crazy skilled guy in Las Vegas who had a knack for bringing old lost pieces of American history back to life, long before he starred on TV. It wasn't a big deal for him. He wasn't showy or loud. He was able to fix up a broken-down Coke machine or an old dirty gas pump and made it into something that should be in a museum. He did all of that from Rick's Restorations, a small shop hidden away in the desert where the dry air and old metal almost seemed to be telling stories on their own. But then the History Channel saw him one day. They had seen him on Pawn Stars just doing his thing, showing up, looking at a worn-out antique, and giving his honest, enthusiastic opinion on what it was, what it could be, and what it was. People liked him for it. He obviously knew what he was talking about. He was telling the truth. He wasn't reading from a script. This was his life. Would you believe me if I told you that one terrible accident ruined everything for American Restoration, a show that we all thought would never end? You won't believe how quickly things changed and what went wrong. Hold on tight, because the truth is much stranger than you think, and in the end, it all makes sense. The people in charge at History Channel had this aha moment. They thought, why not give this guy his own show? Why keep giving him 5-minute appearances when there was clearly a bigger story here, one with heart, grit, and grease? In 2010, that's how American Restoration came to be. Because Pawn Stars was such a big hit, this was the first show that was based off of it. Not just because Rick was good at what he did, though, it was also because people liked him. You believed in him. And doesn't that happen very rarely these days? The idea behind the show was so easy, but it was brilliant. Along with his team, Rick brings old, often broken down Americana back to life right there in Las Vegas. It wasn't just paint and metal, though. It was about emotions, stories, and America itself. Take a look. They didn't just work on any old vending machine or restaurant sign. Each one was unique. Someone's grandfather used to put Cokes in it. As a child, you might have seen it on the corner store down the street. Also, Rick made you really care about that. He would start every show with that shaky, sure voice saying, "My name is Rick Dale. I bring these things back to life." Restoring something is always hard for some reason. No one has written down how to do what we do, but we can handle any job. You knew something cool was going to happen every time he said that. The people were what really made the show shine, not all the cleaning, welding, and painting. Rick's crew wasn't a well-trained group of players. It was really like family. His wife and children. He, his brother, and they all worked together in that shop. It's not always easy to work with family if you've ever done it. Yes, there were fights and times when things got really tense, but there was also love, laughter, and loyalty. Being able to relate to them as they tried to fix up a 1930 gumball machine and fought over who forgot to get lunch was the most telling thing. At those times, who didn't see a bit of their own family? I'm not even going to talk about his Pawn Stars days. Rick was already a fan favorite before American Restoration became popular. When he walked into the gold and silver pawn shop, you knew something big was about to happen. Do you remember when they brought him the old man's 1957 Chevy 150 that had been damaged by fire? Rick and his group put everything they had into that project, and then they gave the old man the keys back. The room was filled with feeling. It looked like that car had just been bought and was still in its box. It was clear that it meant a lot to him. That's what Rick did best. He did more than just fix things. He brought back memories. He made people cry. He shed happy tears because he knew that many of these things were more than just old metal and glass. To many, they were family treasures and parts of their lives, things that were important to you as a child and had been passed down through generations but still had a lot of emotional value. It was like giving someone a piece of their heart back when he gave them back, shiny, clean, and ready to live again. Just for a second, isn't that kind of beautiful? People constantly upgrade to the newest phone or throw away old furniture without giving it a second thought. Rick reminded us that there's value in the old stuff and that almost anything can be fixed with a little care, a lot of hard work, and a lot of patience. Isn't that a strong message on its own? It was like going into a time capsule every episode of the 6 Years show. Things got a little dramatic at times. There were deadlines, fights, and other typical TV stuff. But most of all, it was about love. Love for family, love for history, and love for the craft. That's what American Repair really left behind. In Rick Dale's renovations, there was a 10,000 square foot room that wasn't just a workshop. It was a real time machine. People came in with old, rusty things that they had forgotten about. And, like magic, those old, dirty pieces came out shining. They looked like they were just taken off the factory line. Every day, Rick Dale and his team did magic like that. And fans? Oh yeah, people swarmed that shop like it was a tourist spot just to see what was going on. In the air, you could feel the excitement buzzing. There are noisy grinders, paint sprayers, and people moving around on purpose. Something so interesting about seeing skilled hands bring old stories back to life was really compelling. It wasn't just Rick Dale who ran the business. He was its heart and soul. The man had an amazing attention to detail and a strong desire for old things. Not only did he fix things, he also cared about them. The full Rick Dale treatment was given to every project, no matter how old or broken it was. This meant that the finished product would look like it had never been used. What's even more impressive? He did it with help. No, he had a close-knit group of true wizards, and each one brought something unique to the table. The first person was his wife Kelly, who, let's be honest, kept the whole show together. She was in charge of the office and the money, and she kept everything running without going crazy. Do you ever feel like some people have a secret power? Keely was that. Then there was Rick's son, Tyler, who grew up in that shop. He began when he was a teenager, young and possibly mad that his dad made him sweep the floors so much. But over time, he learned how to be a real craftsman on his own. Do not even begin to talk about Brettley, Rick's stepson. That guy did all the sanding and prep work, which, let's be honest, isn't the most fun, but is very important. That old rusty surface wouldn't be able to stand up to him. Then there was Ron Mummy, who was like a living encyclopedia of old things. The man could really look at any piece of metal and say, "Oh, that's from an Ohio vending machine from 1948. Who knows things like that?" But Ron did. Oh, and don't forget Kyle Astorga. He could make almost any metal part from scratch. I'm talking about pure magic. Need a frame from a 1950S Coke machine with a strange shape? Boom! Kyle has you covered. And finally, Cowboy. Oh man, Cowboy was the best painter ever. He matched the colors so well that it was like he could see the thing's soul and was sure of the shade it needed to be. That man did more than paint. He brought life back. What did they work on? How do I begin? The variety was crazy. Sure, there were cars and bikes that always stole the show, but that wasn't the only thing there was. They did those gas pumps all the time. Rick actually learned how to fix gas pumps better than anyone else in the country. Not a joke. People would bring in these old broken down pumps that looked like they belonged in a dump, and when they left, they looked like they belonged in a museum. But do you know what made American Restoration stand out? They worked on more than just cool things. It was the people, the family, the way they fought, laughed, and helped each other. Do you know those TV shows where everyone seems forced and fake? It was the other way around. It was clear that Rick really wanted to teach Tyler what he knew, even if he got a little too worked up about it sometimes. Some things went wrong with Tyler as he grew up on the show, but it was nice to see him slowly become a skilled young artist. She was like the shop's mom, doctor, and boss all at the same time, bless her. One thing she had to deal with was Rick's need to be perfect. On the other was the chaos of reality TV and guests. I will never understand how she kept everyone from going crazy. Then there was Brettley. Rick really pushed him, like really hard, the same way he pushed Tyler. There were some pretty tense times because he wanted Brettley to step up and take things seriously. But there were also some really sweet ones, because even though Rick seemed mean, He cared about those boys. He taught them more than just how to fix old machines. He also taught them respect and work ethic and how important it is to do things the right way. Things really got tougher as the show became more famous. They were no longer just a small repair shop all of a sudden. They were famous on TV. Rick had to make movies, run a business, raise a family, and stay true to his craft all at the same time. Can you picture the stress? How do you keep everything together when everyone is looking? That's what was so great about the first 6 seasons. They were more than just tools and methods. They were about real people who had real relationships and real problems. Was it bad luck, or did they want to hide something deeper? There was more to American Restoration than meets the eye. Things went completely wrong after it took a hard hit. Don't blink, because the last part is where the biggest surprise is. The sudden change in Season 7. Let's talk about what happened with American Restoration, since many people who are really into that show are still upset about it. Fans have sat down with snacks in hand and are ready to catch up with Rick Dale, his family, and the whole weird, hard-working crew at Rick's Restorations in January 2016. Everyone is looking forward to more cool vintage finds, makeovers, and of course, Rick giving orders while his team works their magic. But all of a sudden, Season 7 comes out and everything changes. Everything. There is no Rick, Kelly, or Tyler. Just poof, gone. Could you picture that? I put money into these people for years, and then they disappeared like yesterday's trash. There wasn't even a "hey, thanks for watching" or "goodbye." There were a lot of new people, and the fans were not okay. Who were these strange new people? Well, the History Channel brought in this group of 5 repair companies from all over the country. They seemed to have pressed the reset button and then watched what happened. Someone named Bodie Stroud from Bodie Stroud Industries was there. People know him for building beautiful handmade cars that make you wish you had $1 million to spend. Dale Waxler from the Wheels Through Time Museum was another person who knew a lot about old bikes. Andy Bowman Jr. from Monkey Business also showed up. He bought and sold old toys and other oddities, which was clearly a niche market. His name was Steve's Restorations and Hot Rods, and his business name was Bob's Garage. Their own style, method, and little part of the screen were unique to each person. Don't misunderstand, they were good. They weren't just picked out of the street. Still, the show had some amazing projects, like a Ford Mustang Boss 302, an Eleanor Mustang that was decked out for Dan Reynolds of Imagine Dragons, and a very rare 1970 Pontiac GTO Judge that was on its way to the semi-car show. Yes, the work was there. What wasn't there, though? The heart, the spirit, that spark. That made American Restoration seem like more than just another show about improving old things. Rick wasn't in it. You can say whatever you want about the guy, but he held everything together. It wasn't just repairs that people were watching. They had their eyes on a family, watching a real business with real people and real problems happen. That magic was gone in an instant. So, when was the big question everyone had? Why is there such a big change? Why get rid of a group that was there for 6 seasons? This is where things get fuzzy. There was never a good reason given by the History Channel. Nothing to say, nothing for the press, nothing. And that quiet? Fans began to look into it and guess. Some online sources said that the network might have wanted to change things up because numbers were going down. Some people talked about drama going on behind the scenes. It looks like producers weren't too happy with Rick's behavior. Do you really believe that? He could be intense, but that was part of the attraction. He was interested in his job.